The CUNI field report is the second structural report which follows the unit report. It is based on the same data source, the internal data system, and has a similar structure. The colored page header of the report indicates its type. The title at the top of the page states the name of field evaluated, experimental biology. Each field report begins with 2 sets of summary statistics overviewing academic personnel and scientific outputs in a given field, followed by 12 figures and 2 tables. The first set of 4 related graphs shows the distribution of academic personnel across categories of persons, core, contract, other, and doctoral students. For more details, see Appendix 5. Figures 1a through 1d depict the 10 largest CUNI units, listed in decreasing order by their total number of persons. Each subfigure corresponds to a different method of counting persons. For an easier comparison, all 4 graphs use the same vertical axis scale. The number of persons self-assigned to a field appears in Figure 1a. A similar method to count persons is used in the CUNI unit report, and is illustrated in Appendix 4. The number of persons self-assigned to a field, who have produced at least one output during a reference period, is shown in Figure 1b. A more restrictive method of counting persons is depicted in Figures 1c and 1d. Only persons who are specialized in the CUNI field, that is, with the largest share of their own co-authored output in the field, are counted in these graphs. The difference is that Figure 1c applies an absolute count, and Figure 1d applies a fractional count of persons' outputs. The latter method leads to fewer persons in fields, in which a major share of outputs is produced through large collaborations. In most fields, though, the numbers in Figures 1c and 1d are not significantly different. Figure 2. Gender and age composition of core and contract persons assigned to the CUNI field. This figure shows both absolute counts and shares of persons self-assigned to experimental biology, by gender and age group. Note that only units with more than 10 persons, and only 2 major categories of persons, core and contract, are represented on this graph. Shares on the right panel are omitted if the total count of core and contract persons is less than 10. Table 1. Assignment of persons to other CUNI fields. This table shows the extent of the multidisciplinary focus of researchers self-assigned to experimental biology. For each unit, with more than 10 persons self-assigned to experimental biology, this table provides a list of CUNI fields, to which the unit's personnel assigns themselves. Recall that in the data system, each person can be self-assigned to up to 3 different CUNI fields, and therefore, his or her contribution to the total count of persons in a given field is divided by the number of assigned fields. For example, at the Faculty of Science, which contributes 46% of the total number of persons self-assigned to experimental biology, self-assignment of personnel to CUNI fields is distributed as follows: 94% in experimental biology, 3% in ecology, and 2% in biochemistry. Fields with less than 1% of self-assignments are aggregated in the residual fields. Shaded sections in the table correspond to fields that belong to the same panel as experimental biology. For each field, the distribution of personnel across 3 categories, core, contract, and other, is depicted by stacked bars in the rightmost column. Figure 3. Fractional counts of output contribution of CUNI fields by persons assigned to the CUNI field. This figure shows how prorated counts of outputs produced by persons self-assigned to experimental biology are distributed across CUNI fields. Those fields that contribute less than 1% to the total count are aggregated in the group titled residual fields. Otherwise, fields are ordered by panels visually separated by bold horizontal lines, in areas visually separated by thin lines. The CUNI field, to which persons are self-assigned, is marked in bold. Fractional counts of outputs in each field are also divided into two categories, those with and those without an article influence score. Figure 4 is similar to Figure 3, as it shows fractional counts of outputs with and without an article influence score. However, it focuses on outputs assigned to experimental biology and shows a distribution across the 10 largest units from Figure 1a. Figure 5 shows how research outputs with an article influence score assigned by units to CUNI field experimental biology map into the international Ford fields which journals belong to. On page D, the first two graphs are repeated from the beginning of report, in order to enable a comparison of the counts of academic personnel with the counts of scientific outputs produced in experimental biology, for which a qualitative structure is available. Figures 6a and 6b depict outputs in terms of absolute counts, that is, each output is always counted as one, irrespective of its number of co-authors. Figures 7a and 7b depict outputs in terms of fractional counts, that is, each output is counted as a fraction of 1, depending on the share of co-authors affiliated with a given unit, and their external affiliations. Note that in Figures 6b and 7b, the numbers above stacked bars represent the total counts of outputs across all quartiles, whereas in Figures 6a and 7a, each number is divided into two parts, designating outputs in the upper half and those in the bottom half of the journal ratings. Both numbers are shown in red when the total count is less than 10 and is therefore rather small for reliable statistical inference. Last but not least, Table 2 shows a more detailed breakdown of output counts in the top decile of journal ratings. Note that a journal's rating percentile is always calculated within the Web of Science categories where the journal belongs to, not the CUNI field to which the outputs are assigned. In Table 2, journals are listed in a decreasing order by their article influence scores. Only the first 5 units from the previous graphs are presented in this table. The rightmost column serves as a benchmark for the ratio of fractional to absolute counts of outputs for each unit. For example, in the Lancet Oncology journal, on average, each piece of output corresponded to a prorated fraction of 0.3. Because this ratio at the First Faculty of Medicine falls under the average, it is marked blue. To return back to specific sections of this video, see the list of quick links in the description text below. You can also find there a list of quick links to all 7 videos.